But tonight on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, the mainstream media is coming to grips that they do not have the influence anymore over you. They have multi-million-dollar studios. They pay their host millions of dollars, to do the news, and yet they don't have any influence. A lot of these people have been to different colleges, some of them Ivy League, and yet they have no influence anymore. And now after the 2024 election, they are finally, after many years, finally admitting that they don't have the pulse on the people no longer, which we already knew that because most people don't have time to sit down and watch their boring programming. Let's go ahead and check that out. From NBC News, 1 in 5 U.S. adults get their news from social media influencers. According to Pew reports, they're across platforms. Male news influencers outnumber women, and creators with explicit political orientations lean conservative. So they're saying social media influencers were a hot topic during the 2024 presidential race, and let me tell you something, that's not changing. Mainstream media, get used to it. Now, maybe eventually the mainstream media may try to start recruiting people from social media platforms because of their influence, but we'll see if that happens. It says both parties courted creators ahead of the election. They say now a new Pew Research Center survey reveals just how impactful it says so-called. Why you say so-called? They are news influencers as they are in the current information ecosystem. Say about 21% of U.S. adults are turning to news influencers for information, with most saying creators help them better understand current events and civic issues, according to the study. So they say, now they look at it, they say 21%, they're going off of this, but you look at it, 1839, 37%. You got 3049, 26%. Of course, now as you get older, 50 and older, 15%, 65 and older, 7%. Yeah. And that makes sense because they used to the old way. Now I say the number was higher among young adults with 37%. Age 18-29, saying they turn to influence for news. The Pew surveyed 10,000 adults and analyzed 500 news influencers, which is defined as individuals who regularly post about current events and have over 100,000 followers on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or YouTube. Let's say news influencers have emerged as one of the key alternatives to traditional outlets as a news and information source for a lot of people, let's say especially younger folks. As according to the study's co-author, Galen Stocking, a senior computational social scientist at Pew Research Center, in a news release, and these influencers have really reached new levels of attention and prominence this year amid the presidential election. I say the rise of social media influencers, I say in particular news-focused creators, have been solely embraced by politicians in recent years. Almost a decade ago, then President Barack Obama surprised some by granting interviews to major YouTube creators. It says since then, the influencer world has continued to grow, culminating in an election cycle in which everyone from long-form podcasters to short-form video creators landed candidate interviews generating hundreds of millions of views. It's saying the Democratic Convention in Chicago was the first to open its doors to social media creators, credentialing 200 of them for the 4-day event in the effort to connect with younger audiences. And the Republican Convention in Milwaukee hosted more than 70 influencers as part of a content creator program. Now, I will tell you this much. Nobody from the Democrats or Republicans reached out over here. But let me say this. The main reason why people, especially in the black community now, are not listening to the mainstream media is because everything y'all promote is anti our community. Let's look at your MSNBC. Let's look at your CNN. It's always promoting something anti our community. You're sitting up here targeting black people. You're talking down on black people. You're talking down on black men. You're trying to do the gender warring. You do everything you can to try to divide the black community on y'all programming, right? And black Americans are sick of that, and they're not going to consume anti-black content, anti-black family content. They're not going to consume misandrist content because you thinking that, we going to have the black women being misandrist. Black women aren't misandrist. Black women got husbands. They got sons. They got brothers. They got boyfriends. They got fathers, uncles, grandfathers who are black people, black men in particular. So they're not misandrous. They're not. Only you have a few is that way, but that's not the majority. That's first and foremost. Another reason why people want to tune in to us over you is because we can relate. Let me tell you something. Anderson Cooper, who's getting paid $20 million a year on CNN, how can he really relate to struggling for gas prices, food prices? Food price is not an issue for you if you're making $20 million a year. It's not an issue for you. You're not worried about interest rates for what? You make $20 million a year. Just to give you an example, and I'm not picking on Anderson Cooper. I'm just giving an example of some of the prices that is already thrown out there. Or Aaron Burnett making $6 million a year. So if you have an Aaron Burnett trying to discuss inflation, she can't talk to you in a way that I can, because I feel the inflation. When I go to the store, I know the gas prices. I know the food prices. I know it. I'm dealing with it. That's what makes the difference with us versus them. Number two, we come from the communities. We know what people in the community are dealing with on a daily basis. We're not so far removed from the communities. We're still easily accessible. Now, of course, we can't talk to everybody. Like in my position, I can't talk to everybody. I just can't. I won't get no work done if I just sit down and talk to everybody. Now, Kellen is there to answer certain questions from people. But for me, no, I can't talk to everybody. But I got a platform to run, so people want to get this content out. We're talking to people in the background trying to get things done. We're trying to grow this platform to be bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So many ideas I have even for this podcast, right? For 2025 to change some things up so it can be bigger and better, right? That's what people want to see. And y'all not offering that, period. And one thing that we have to do, we can't just say, oh, now we can pat ourselves on the back. Oh, we have kind of conquered Goliath. No. When you're sitting up here and they're admitting, man, y'all beat us, you can't take your foot off the neck. You can't stop. At that point, now you got to go harder. Now you got to really mash the gas, because you cannot let them get their foothold back. That's the key. Because see, sometimes with black people, what we do is like, oh, we won something, and then we back off. One thing you got to learn about the white supremacy is that never back off if you won anything. You mash the gas and keep going even harder and harder and harder, because they will come back on you. And they'll come back in a way, and now you be wondering how they came back and how you in a worse position than you was before when you had got some inroads. So the fight is never done. Like with the Democrat Party, right? Oh yeah, we kind of showed the Democrats. No, show Democrats anything. What we got to do is we got to mash the gas harder, because the Democrats is going to come back. So we got to keep pushing the message, looking at everything they're doing, watching how they're trying to put the pieces together, how they trying to move, how they trying to worm their way in. And we got to be just kind of calling them out every step of the way, so they cannot get a foothold again back in our community. That's how we have to move. So the work is never done. Just because Vice President Kamala Harris lost the election doesn't mean the work is done. The work is far from over. She is not the central figure of the issues. It's the mainstream media, it's the Democrat Party, it's the Republican Party, it's all of them. Because everybody, whether it's the mainstream media, the Democrats or Republicans, do not want to see our collective empowerment, do not want to see us with an anti-black hate crime bill, do not want to see us get reparations in the form of cash payments, do not want to see our collective rise in America. They don't want to see the wealth gap closed. They don't want us to have nothing. They don't want us to be happy. So since we know all this, we have to stay ready. We have to stay constantly battling, fighting the listen, it's an information war. It's an information war. And it's not going to stop, because that was the biggest mistake our people made after the civil rights movement. Just because you got some wins don't mean you go party and BS. No. Now you got some wins. Now you got to mash the gas harder so you can continue to finish the job and continue to go further and further and further. And what our people done after the civil rights movement, they backed off. They partied in BS. And while they did that, racism, white supremacy was regrouping. And they regrouped, and then look what happened to us. Look what happened. They put drug in our community and then mass incarcerated us. We wasn't mass incarcerated, didn't have that drug in our community like that, the crack epidemic. We didn't have that problem. During the time we were fighting back, if black people stayed on their square, if black people wasn't so rushing to integrate and so rushing to, party and BS with Becky and them, we wouldn't have had these issues and problems. So we got to learn from the mistakes of the past. And we got to keep pressing. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep going on and on and on and on and on. Like this article is not to be saying, oh, yes, we did it. We did it, guys. No. Okay, we see the inroad. Now we go 10 toes down and 10 toes harder. Because we're not done. We are not done. We are done when we see the collective empowerment of the Black American community. We're done when we get reparations. We're done when we get an anti-Black hate crime bill. And even after we get all that, we still got to keep fighting. So they won't try to undermine anything. So it is a beautiful thing that more and more of you are listening, and you're getting the pulse right here. That's why I tell you. Tell your friends and family about all the programming you watching. Don't keep it to yourself. Let your friends know. Your friends at work, your mom and your daddy. Tell everybody you can. Share it with them. Say, hey man, look at this video, man. Look at this. Y'all got cell phones. The best way to share is you can send it with a text message, or share it to somebody and say, hey man, subscribe to this channel, man. I want y'all to see what they got going on. This is what I'll be watching. And like, oh, for real? Because some people don't even know until you share it with them. So share it with your friends and family through text messaging, and get them to start watching. Because trust me, they would love to watch programs like this instead of watching MSNBC. MSNBC is boring. Who wants to watch that, right? But the mainstream media, like I say, ladies and gentlemen, what they're trying to do, and also the Democrats, they're crying about, oh, we need to get programs and podcasts, that's going to fight for our messaging and things like that. Well, y'all got Boulay Martin. Y'all not going to put no money behind Boulay Martin? Well, that lets you know too, Boulay Martin has no pulse, because they'd have mentioned him saying, oh, well, Roland Martin, he fight. Listen, Roland Martin talk for Democrats all day long, but Roland Martin does not have no influence. He don't. Because who wants to follow? I told y'all, nobody's going to follow a sassy and broken man. It's not going to happen. If they're going to follow a man, he going to be a man that's a traditional man, an alpha man, a straight-laced alpha black man, if they're going to follow a black man that nobody is questioning, period. So let's see what happens even further, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to keep breaking down, what's going on with the community, breaking down what's going on with these Democrats. Because remember, the Democrats are regrouping right now. They're strategizing right now how to try to get us back on that doggone plantation. And we got to make sure, since a lot of us is off of the Democrat plantation, we got to make sure to watch every trick they try to pull to get us back. And people like myself and many others is going to warn you a lot quicker, because we're going to see the play coming before they even